Natalie Jill, honey, it is such a pleasure to get to interview you for the first time. We have been at events together. I've been interviewed by you, I mean, literally just yesterday. And you are such an incredible inspiration. I remember the first time we met, I believe we were at Allison Maslin's house and we were jumping on we were basically, oh my gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say the trampoline, but it definitely was not a trampoline.
Trapeze.
It's trapeze. And I was like, who is this amazing woman? I would love for you to start with I feel like you've had so many transformations, but I'd love for you to start with your transformation in your 40s and kind of what was going on with you then, because you have been on fitness magazines, you have reinvented, but let's start there. Because I think a lot of women, even when they hit their 40s, think that it's the beginning of the end.
Yeah, it's interesting because I really didn't get into the health and wellness space until my late 30s. And it was just my initial transformation there after having my daughter is what got me super interested in stepping into that space. And I really became this, we start thinking we know what we know. We know everything that we know because it's working for us and it's working for people around us. And you know what you know. So if you had asked me in my early 40s, even mid 40s, or even late 40s, what happens around perimenopause and menopause, even, I really thought I had the answers. And I used to say there was just three things, literally. I used to believe that it was if we have a decision and a vision for what aging is going to look like, and we stay really committed to acting as if, like being in that space, and then we eat a specific way and we move our bodies a specific way, we are good. That's what I thought. And when I would hear women talk about hormones or gut health or thyroid or blood sugar, like all the things that we know to be true, I used to think, well, yes, but if you do these other things, it's going to be fine. And I really believed that until I had a massive wake up call in my early 50s, massive wake up call. And I'm 54 at the time us recording this right now. And I will say it was exactly 2 years ago where everything really shifted for me.
Yeah, I
And
remember talking with you about that and you trying to figure out what was going on. I know that blood sugar was all over the place, labs were looking a little bit deregulated. You just weren't feeling like yourself. You weren't getting the results that you used
yeah,
to get.
in fact, I reached out to you because blood sugar was a big thing. So what happened was I started feeling the first blahs, just low energy, the foggy head, all the classic things you actually talk about with perimenopause. But I had not really experienced that as much in my 40s. So I thought, I've got this. So it was around 52 where I'm really feeling this like lack of motivation and waking up in that tired but wired state like that. Like I didn't really sleep well and waking up in a panic attack and just not, and then the kind of just feeling blah about myself and not wanting to do the workouts that I knew to do, like just not having the energy for them and not wanting to eat the way that I've always eating. I wanted to hide in the corner and eat carbs and some sugar and some extra fat. Like that's what I wanted. And what I thought was, well, maybe this is what everyone talks about with hormones. Let me just slap on some hormone replacement. So I got my levels checked and thought that would be the answer, but nothing really changed. I mean, I might have like gotten a grip on some hot flashes and had some moments of happiness, but it was like nothing was really changing. And I kept thinking, I just need to do what I know harder, which is what I think. And any listener listening, we tend to do that. Like everything you know has got you up to right now, right here today, right? So when something's not working, we don't usually go right into what do I have to do different? We think, how do I do what I've always known, but stronger or better or harder or more? Like that's just natural woman tendency.
Yeah.
That's what I was doing. And it wasn't until my doctor at the time said, why don't you wear a continuum glucose monitor? Because your A1C at the time was looking a little bit funky. It was saying that I was actually moving up towards pre-diabetic. So I put a continual glucose monitor on, and right away that got my attention because I realized my blood sugar had a massive problem. It was like I would eat very low glycemic and my blood sugar would shoot up over 200. I remember talking to you on
Yeah.
a boat we were on.
Yeah, we're
My
looking
blood
at your,
sugar,
yeah.
yeah, is literally like 250 if I eat a bite of an apple. Like what's going on here? And then, so I didn't know what was going on, but it took that interruption to get my attention because here I am, a licensed master sports nutritionist who understands and was eating, and I'm thinking I can control it all, and I could not control my blood sugar no matter what I did. So it was such a setback for me, and it made me really think, you know what? I need to pause everything I'm doing. I don't want to teach fat loss and fitness right now. I just felt so I literally paused all my programs, Mariza. I paused all of them. In fact, I sent an email to my list saying, hey, I'm not going to be opening these up right now. I'm not selling anything. Like I don't, but anyone that needs help, go here. And I sent them all to one of my friends. And I actually at the time redid my podcast. Instead of it being what it was, I changed it to Midlife Conversations. And I honestly did it selfishly initially for me. Like, you know what? If I change it to Midlife Conversations, I can go interview and ask a million questions of everyone I want to learn from. And that's how I'm going to learn. That's what I literally did. And through those conversations, not only did my podcast start taking off and like growing around those topics, I started getting some clarity. And one of the first things that I realized is that this blood sugar problem is coming from something else. It's not just from my food. It's coming from something else. That was the first thing I noticed.
Yep, absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about that, because I think a lot of women, and for some it is food, for some it is lifestyle. It really depends on the person. But for you, it was toxins, it was gut issues, right?
Yeah. So it started with my friend, our mutual friend, Laura. She said to me, parasites can cause blood sugar dysregulations. And I thought she was crazy. I literally looked at her like she was a Martian. I'm like, what are you even talking about? I don't have stomach problems. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't understand how common gut problems really were. And was my first glimpse into, I really don't know everything that I think I know. Because I thought, here, I'm an expert in these areas and I knew what gut health was, but I didn't understand it. I didn't really understand how important it is. And so my first glimpse of starting to feel better was listening to her and going into this idea of I've got to understand and clean up my gut, and I need to start. And by the way, cleaning up your gut's not a one-time thing. We all know you get on top of it and you have to stay on top of it. It's not like you just do some cleanse and now you're fixed forever. It's not as easy as that. It's the same as saying you're going to do one workout and never work out again, or I'm going to eat healthy for a week and not eat healthy again. It is an ongoing situation. But what I learned is if your gut is not operating right, then nothing you do is going to operate right. So if you don't have a healthy working gut, it doesn't matter what hormone replacements you slap on. It doesn't matter how you're eating. It doesn't matter what you think you're doing detox wise. If your gut is not cleaning things out, we've got a problem. So that was kind of my first glimpse into, let me start working on that. I started to see that things were changing, and that led me down this whole rabbit hole of what else is going on. Because when I heard the word toxic load, I used to think, well, everyone's toxic. Everything's toxic. Candles are toxic and perfumes are toxic. Like everything seems toxic all of a sudden. But what I now know to be true is that we're exposed to toxins our whole life. And some of us genetically are really good at getting rid of them. Some of us are not. And the older we get, the more it starts to pile up. So as you're aging and you're exposed to more and more and more and more and more, we now are creating this toxic load where now our body can't efficiently do anything new that's at all toxic. So if you're living in a house with mold, your spouse might not feel it, your kids might not feel it, but you do. It might be because of that toxic load. Like your body has gotten to this place. So in that journey, I started to learn, not only did our house have mold, which we figured that out. Our house had black mold. But I also at that time learned I had a ruptured gel-formed breast implant, which I had had breast implants for 31 years. I used to roll my eyes at BII. I was like, whatever, And I learned I had this ruptured implant. So everything was starting to kind of hit me at once. And I started thinking like, well, no wonder I'm having a blood sugar problem because here I had this gut issue. And then now like the list keeps going on. A ruptured implant, living in a black mold house. I started thinking like, well, I still had amalgams in my teeth, like a lot of Gen X, like we still had that. So I start on this process of, well, I'm certainly not going to stop coloring my hair. And I'm certainly not going to go all completely natural. Like that's just not going to happen in my lifetime. But what can I start whacking out? What can I start cleaning up? So we moved out of the house. I removed my amalgam fillings and I scheduled an explant, and without wanting to replace them, I was like, they're coming out. And I started on this journey of let me just do the changes I know that I can do. And let's start with what I've added in my body that's just not serving it. And if we're just looking at food, we're missing it. Because like literally, and I don't tell every woman to go yank out their implants. That's not but if you are having other health issues and you feel like you're doing all the things, we've got to look at that, whether it's ruptured or not. So I will tell you, after I took those implants out, it was like instant, Mariza. Like when I say instant, like, I mean, I'm still coming out of surgery and the next day start feeling better. And my body from the time, now granted, I did the cleanse, I did the gut health, we moved out of the mold, removed my amalgams, removed my implants, but everything else I was doing the same. I was eating the way I knew. I was moving my body the way that I could. And my body bounced literally right back to how it was at 40 in my mid 40s. Like without doing anything crazy. And this is before people were talking about microdosing GLP, like before any of that. Like it just started bouncing back. And that to me really was a big wake up call about inflammation and
Mhm.
toxic load. And we cannot just control everything with let's just slap on some hormones and work out harder.
Yeah, I agree that, the food piece, the movement piece, the sleep piece, those foundational pillars are mission critical.
Yes.
But if those aren't working, and
Yes.
like you said, I think I want to go back to the when things aren't working, we just double down on the things we always
Yeah.
knew and we overwork. And ultimately, I think it lends to more inflammation anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it doesn't end up helping us out. But if those things aren't working, it's time to start investigating what else is going on.
Yes. And we always tend to think more is better, right? So like I'll
Always.
take in a hormone replacement, I think a lot of women fall into this. I was included. Like you try a little testosterone, you're like, well, I feel good. Maybe more is better. Well, if your body is not really detoxing that well, that could convert to estrogen. We can create like there's all kinds of things that go with that. Like if you feel good on estrogen, well, more is better. Well, like everything is not more is better. So you like this one supplement, more doesn't necessarily always equal better. Sometimes I think we have to like lessen the load and go back to some basics. Like that's one of the things I love about your new book is like that idea of like, let's make sure we're covering all these basic things because we can do these hacks and these tricks and stuff. But if you don't do that foundational stuff, we're going to have a problem.
I want to spend a little bit of time on that as well because you did make some big moves. I think anytime someone's listening and thinking, oh my gosh, they're moving out of a house because of mold, that feels insurmountable or explant surgery.
Yes.
It's so curious, even on the back end, because something you had said earlier is like you can't just clean up your gut once and then you're like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Everything's good. What are some of the things that you're doing, Natalie, now that you are feeling, like
Yeah.
you said, you got the bounce back, that helping to maintain the bounce back, helping to
Well,
maintain the energy?
yes. Before I answer that about the bounce back, I want to bring up this important thing. I want you all to think about if you're listening, do you ever notice the same people that are dealing with an explant also seem to have black mold, also seem to have gut things, like also seem to have an autoimmune? It's like this it's like you look at it like, well, why does this person have all those things? What's happening, it's not that we're all unique experiencing all those things. I think we're all actually exposed to a lot of things. But what happens is when you start to get a glimpse of, I've got to start cleaning stuff up, you start noticing all these things that other people might not notice. Like, I really believe there's a lot of freaking people living in mold and don't know it.
Oh,
They don't know it.
absolutely. No.
And there's a lot of people that have no idea their amalgam fillings are caught or their breast implants. There's a lot of things. And those are just some of the examples. So it's not that these people seem to attract drama with all these things. It's just that they've now opened up their eyes to, oh, it's more than just nutrition and workouts and like there's other things. And so now they're seeing it, they're noticing it. That's what I think. So back to like, what am I doing to bounce back? And do I actually think I would have healed without fixing that stuff? I don't know that I would have. I already had two autoimmunes, I just literally. So, and if you think about any autoimmune, you likely had a gut issue. Like they go together. They go, especially I'm a celiac. I've been a celiac for 30 years. I didn't know. Nobody was talking about gut 30 years ago, but it obviously stems starting with an issue there. I had these things already. So if you are somebody that's already navigating autoimmune, you are at higher risk for toxic load problems, like other things. So do I think that would have changed had I not removed myself from that environment or cleaned these things up? I don't know, honestly. I think I would have kind of stayed stuck and I probably would have been in that mindset of what I believe then that, oh, this is just what happens. We turn after 50 or you get it towards menopause and this just happens. We have to accept that there's an extra 20 pounds or an extra thickening in the middle, or we have to accept that we're going to be more puffy or high. Like that's kind of where I was thinking. So no, I do think it's important to remove yourself from the environment. And I want to make sure I'm saying that because I don't think there's shortcuts. I think I can tell you what I'm doing now, but I don't believe if I had stayed in a moldy house with my ruptured implant and my amalgams, didn't matter how much sauna I did, how much walking I did, I was still going to have problems. So we have to remove the culprit. We do. And I know women don't want to hear that. They're like, that seems extensive, but what's going to be the bigger problem? Uplifting and creating change right now or dealing with more health consequences later? Because if we get exposed to some virus tomorrow or something else, I'm in a good spot to deal with it. Had I not cleaned all that up, I'm not in a good spot to deal with it. So we got to look at things that way too. I think that's the same with any diagnosis or accident or whatever. My gosh, as we're recording this, I just had back surgery. People are like, how'd you bounce back so quick? Like I had a major surgery and it did feel like a big recovery to me, but I'm in a healthier state because I cleaned up all those other things first.
Yeah. I do. I mean, we went through a big mold remediation last year, and mainly because again, I was going down all the rabbit holes similar
Yeah.
to you, and I wasn't getting better. And so,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
end up having to go down that one at some point, like, okay, what is driving this toxic load?
That's
What's
exactly
driving this
right.
inflammation? And so I think the big message for anyone listening right now is if you are doing all the right things and you are pulling all the levers and yet you're still not feeling well, it's time to do deeper testing. It's time to go
Yes.
deep and see what's going on.
Yes. So, okay. So first, let's talk about the mold thing first. I do believe that it is important to know that. I mean, it's so dangerous and it's fixable. Whether first of all, if you're renting, you can literally move
You
out of
can
the
move,
house.
yeah.
That's what we did. I mean, we were renting that house. So goodbye, we're out. We're not doing, and rules are in your favor as a tenant if you're renting. If it's your house and you own it, you got to take that seriously too, because you not dealing with it now, you're going to have a problem when you try to sell your house later anyway, because people test for those things. So it is important to look at that. And then also not to be in your house when you're remediating it. That's the other issue, because don't let people tell you that you can or that you can just patch over it. Like you don't want to be breathing those in. But if you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? You're scaring me. I think we have mold. The first thing is get a good quality air filter. Like make sure you've got a great quality air filter, like especially in your bedroom by your bed. So you're not breathing that in. And make sure you are outside as much as you can, like you're getting away from it. So that's the big thing. And I've been so committed to this now that like I was just traveling and I was checked into this great hotel and I was actually speaking at events. So it wasn't even me that had paid for the hotel. But the second I walked in, I smelled that musty mold. And I'm like, I'm not going to sleep in here for 4 nights. I'm not. So I called the hotel and they take it seriously. They moved me to a different room. So you got to speak up and advocate for yourself and not be in a moldy environment. So that's number one. Number two, I am a huge fan of detox measures, and there's some that cost a lot of money and there's some that are free and some that are easy. So I'll tell you like some things that I did simply. Like I am a fan of binders and I take binders frequently. I tend to like the fulvic acid. I'll literally drink it in my minerals, and that's what I do. Sometimes I would do like higher level ones like a biotoxin binder, or you could do activated charcoal. There's lots of binders, but a binder basically cleans up things that aren't supposed to be in your body and it removes it.
Yeah.
So I
do fulvic and humic acid. I do
Yes.
minerals all the time.
Yeah.
I water, but then we've got the heavier duty stuff too, particularly when we were going through that mold remediation. And if you're talking about, it's so interesting that you mentioned air purifiers. So my son started new school, it's kindergarten, and this is the first time he's ever been in an indoor school.
Oh, wow.
So when we were interviewing for the school, it's a private school, it was indoors, and the only question I really had, because the curriculum was amazing, I was like, can we buy air purifiers for the room, because I don't know, one, it's like close to the freeway, and so we have Jaspers in the room.
Did they let you do that? That's awesome.
Yeah, so they've got Jaspers. What was interesting finally the first meet and greet, which was last Thursday, we get there and they're in the second level of this building, and we walk in and this light fixture, there's water coming out of this light fixture. Oh my gosh. And I was like, oh no. And it's, obviously the school, it isn't even the school's building, it's whoever they're renting from. And I was like, okay, are we dealing with this? Like whatever this leak is, it was like rain. It was coming down this light fixture, and I was like, oh man. But I was like, well, at the very least, we have Jaspers in the classroom. So
I love that you did that. And then so the other thing is though, if somebody's listening going, well, I don't have control of a certain environment. Well, that's why it's even more important to get our bodies in a great state to eliminate, because if you're not eliminating, where is that all going? It's going in your tissue. It's creating problems. So like it's not about just controlling the environment. It's about controlling what's in us. So I'll say another thing, like really that I love, and sometimes I forget about it. Honestly, it's literally at my house is my sauna, because I have an infrared sauna, and I live in Phoenix right now, so it's 120 million degrees here, basically. The last thing I feel like, I don't feel like going in, but I was feeling kind of off since my surgery and not feeling like I had a major surgery, but when I started going back in there, like I'm like, why am I not going in here? Because you literally, sweat is one of your biggest ways to detox, and you add infrared component. That's huge. So you're getting the different light spectrums, which is also helping you detox at a cellular level. So you really want to do that. If you don't have access to an infrared sauna at your house, that's fine, but you can find a gym or someplace that has one. And even just being outside in natural sunlight, you're going to get, you have the other spectrums too, but you still get that. But that is an important thing, to sweat every day. Like, we forget about sweating. We tend to, but if you're putting everything through your liver, sweat's another great way to detox things. So really looking at that. So I'm committed to that. Also, moving our body, being sedentary, about like, think about it just visually, like you're sedentary, things are just recirculating. So just movement is so key. And that doesn't mean you have to go run a marathon, but just walking every day, making sure you're walking and hydrating. And this is a really basic thing for women, but I would be amazed. I am always amazed to know how many women are not doing this. You have to be going to the bathroom every day. You have to be going number two every single day.
Yes.
You every day. Like, if not, you are recycling literally crap in your body. Like, it's not, you have to. And you've got to do whatever you've got to do to make that happen, upping your fiber. If you've got to take like oxy powder, do whatever you've got to do to make that happen. It's absolutely critical.
I agree. I agree. There is something interesting about being the canary in the coal mine, and I find women more than men are the canary in the coal
Hmm.
mine. And
Hmm.
and it's really because when we ran labs, we ran mycotoxin labs on everybody in the household. I was at max capacity of mold and
Yeah.
mycotoxins, whereas Alex was barely, Kingston was nothing.
That was like me
And
and my husband.
yeah, so
Yeah.
and so
Same thing.
I'm like, well, what is it about me that's driving an autoimmune condition, that's driving inflammation, that's driving, and so there's something to be said because if mold is everywhere, mold's in schools and mold's in hotels and mold's in the households, like I think it's in like at least 70% of people's like everywhere. You can imagine mold is just one of the most
Yeah.
proliferative and most, resistant, resilient organisms on the planet. There's a lot that we've got to do to shore ourselves up. Mind you, like test always, but like there's something about it, whether it's our genetics or something going on. But I
Mhm.
feel like I do a lot of things that detox me every day to keep me out of the danger zone.
So the thing that's really interesting, and I didn't really connect it until later, but when we lived in that house, my husband always had a runny, stuffy nose. Like, he would have like the or he'd feel feverish. I never had the symptoms, but my tests showed me holding on to it all, and I was gaining the weight, all the things I wasn't. His body was almost like releasing it more, and that's why he was feeling that. So just because you don't have like these outward obvious symptoms, like that's a good thing to have that. Like, you have those. It's like your body going, we don't want this, like, get it out. Some of our bodies hold on to that stuff. Even things like, I think about gel nails. Okay, I have gel nails on literally right now as I'm talking to you, and I took them off for a good year and a half, and I'll probably take them off again, and I'll tell you why. On my test, it showed high levels of HEMA. Okay, like, where does that come from? Gel nails. So it's like, even something like gel nails, hair color, that is all going into your body, adding a toxic load to you, like all of it. And your skin, your nails, that's like, it's your skin is an organ. Anything that's going through there, it's a high absorption getting into you. So could you have nails? Could you color your hair? Sure, you can, but it's all at what expense, and what else are you not going to do because of it? So I just look at everything as, where am I putting this into my list of toxic loads? Like, if I really want this, what else am I willing to give up? Or how am I committed to getting this out of me? We have to think like that. But if we're starting to pile it on, I think of Gen X women, especially, and even some millennials, it starts piling up amalgam fillings, the gel nails, the hair color, the hair bleach. Then you've got all the makeup that we use and the skin products, and it just and the breast implants. Like, it literally starts piling up, and then you go to a moldy home. Of course, we have problems.
Yeah, we kind of tip the scale at that point when it becomes a bigger
Mhm.
threat. Yeah, I hear you. I'm just thinking about, going down the rabbit hole of all that testing. And I think it's really trusting your intuition. Like you had
Mhm.
said, something wasn't right. You didn't know
Yeah.
what it was, but something wasn't right.
Yes. So what I teach women, I used to teach literally just fat loss. Like, come in and work with me, and it's like mindset, and it's nutrition, and it's workout. That's not what I do anymore. Like, that's obviously a core part, and it's obvious, it's very important. But I teach women what I call to be a health detective. We have to be a health detective. So when I'm working with women, we're looking at all these areas, not so you go chase down a million different angles, but I'm looking for the thing that's going to click for you, and you're going to go, wait a minute. So when I look at these different areas of health detective, I mean, there's lots of different areas, but one of them is gut health. Like, we have to explore that. We have to explore thyroid. We have to explore cortisol and blood sugar. Those are important. We have to explore hormones, but it's an order of operations. It's not right away. We have to look a little bit into DNA even. Like how are we? And my goal with women is we can't just rely on a 5-minute doctor appointment anymore. We can't rely on just reading one book or taking one course. We have to start looking at ourselves as the most important information center. And we have to take this on the way we would have taken on learning to start a business or learning to be a mom or whatever it is. Like you have to take it on seriously and really start to learn. And it's just learning enough so you can start getting clear with your body and your intuition on what's going on. And when you start to really understand these different areas, you have to like think of it as school. You have different subjects, right? So it's like a little bit on gut health, a little bit on thyroid, a little bit, just enough that you're like, wait a minute, I hadn't thought about these things, but let me look at this. But if we're just saying, let me just add hormones, or what's scarier now with peptides is let me just go add peptides. Like, again, I'm all for all of it. It's fine. I'm not against any of it, but it's not a let's just go add. We have to be a health detective and look at all these areas and then go, what is true for me? Where do I need to start here?
Mm. And is there, when you're helping women to become a health detective, are there specific areas that we should be looking at first? Should we be looking at sleep patterns, mood patterns, menstrual cycles?
Great question. So I have an order of operations for it. So number one, the very first place I start women is in I call it decision and vision. And people can roll their eyes at that, but we have to do that because when I ask women what they want, they always tell me what they don't want. Well, I don't want to be overweight or I don't want to feel like this. But until we're clear on what we actually want, we're chasing something very subjective. So I really work with women first to get clear on what you actually want for your life. Like, what does that actually feel like when you've arrived? What does that look like on your, like, what is that? Like, what's the arrival space, other place? Because if so you just say, I just don't want to be whatever, that's not an arrival place. I want to know, I want to be 70 and like, what is the arrival place? What's the goal? So that's number one. Then we start to unwind some things. So we're going to go back to basic nutrition. And I'm very, very specific here because I think we've gotten crazy in the diet world with all these extremes. Like I have to go carnivore, I have to go vegan. Like it's too extreme. And I want women to go back to some basics around unprocessing our diet. Because if we're eating whole, nourishing, real food, and that makes a big difference right there because we've got to get a baseline before we're starting to add in things. Then I look at my order of operations is now we're going to look at gut health and thyroid. So they're separate topics, but I think they're both important. What's going on with our gut health? Like, are we aware here? Like, are we feeding our gut good foods for that? Like, what's happening here? Because I want your gut to be optimized in order to have everything else work. Then I'm looking at thyroid because I think we skipped that a lot too. Like, and a lot of women have declining thyroid function. Mm-hmm. And then around that area, it's also blood sugar and cortisol. So we're watching that. Only after we've done all that do I bring in, let's talk about hormone replacement. Now, hormones is part of the conversation always, but if we're going to start adding in, like I want to add in hormones, I want to make sure all these other things are right because just jumping in hormones on top of a bad functioning thyroid or gut, we might have a problem here. Mm-hmm. And then it's after that, then we'll look at things like the fine tuning. Like now let's play with like DNA or is peptides part of the conversation? That's more the fine tuning and that's later. That's how I've approached it.
I love that. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And really what that investigation is potentially some testing as well, you know?
Potentially. And but even without the testing, just having that knowing you can make some changes. Like, honestly, like look at gut testing. Do you have to have a stool test to know? Like, sure, but that's going to but it takes a moment in time and it tells you what's going on right there. But regardless of that, I'm going to still want people to like really look at what's happening in their gut. So if you're not going to the bathroom every day or if you're bloated, we got a problem. Like we already know that. So we got to work on that anyway. So yes, and there's still a lot you can do without even testing to start getting things right.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, and testing, even with testing, I still feel like we're still in our infancy when it comes to gut testing, when it comes to stool testing. And so there's a lot of things that we can begin to implement without that testing.
And same with toxin testing. I'm going to say this too about molds and toxins and heavy metals and all that, because to me, when you're seeing that on a test, is that what you've excreted or is that what you're holding on to? It's still kind of confusing. Like, right, there's not a definitive. And then also the other part with testing is it's subjective to who's interpreting it. So that's the other thing. Like you can have a test and have 10 different people tell you 10 different things based on the test. So yes, I say test, and first learn yourself so you can ask reasonable things. Like it's just, I so believe that we're very, very wise when we can get quiet and listen to what's actually, we know what's going on in us. Like we know, but we get too caught up in everybody's else's certainty and we crave certainty as women. Like we want to know the answer. But I encourage women to go back to being curious and taking everything off the table and being willing to blow up everything you thought you knew and ask new questions and start learning again.
Mm. Yeah. And I think what we're talking a lot about, or what you're talking about, Natalie Jill, is agency, is having agency over your health, like listening to your body and really understanding what's going on. I want to shift the conversation a little bit to fat loss, because I know you have so many women in your community, women coming to me as well. I mean, I think there's something about midlife that shifts a lot of
Yes.
things for us. What are some of the trends you see in terms of that fat accumulation throughout midlife? And what I know that you said, I had these three things that I knew: it's mindset, it was
Mhm.
movement, and it was eating for our metabolic health. And yet, obviously, inflammation is playing a role here, detox pathways
Yep.
and gut health. And so, but what are some of your tried and true ways? Because I know women come to you every day
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah. So number one, and again, this is always hard for me to say because people want certainty. They want the
I
answer.
know.
Like
Yeah.
this is the answer. And I just don't believe that that's the case anymore. And I can't with even a straight face say everyone needs to eat this way or do this way because it's just
Mhm.
not true. So what is true is we have to be very clear on what it is we want for ourselves. If you don't know what you want, you're never going to get there, period. So I won't back down on that. I feel like I do a lot of personal development coaching in that space because it's very important for me to help women get clear on their vision. Like it's so critical. I cannot help somebody if they don't want to do that work first. Next thing, we have to eat a primarily unprocessed natural food diet. Now, I don't really care if you want to be more keto or paleo or whatever you're choosing. What I care about is that we're eating unprocessed natural real foods and foods that actually are nourishing us and healing us. So I will never, ever be a fan of long-term fat loss or health to be a strict carnivore, for example. I just can't do it. Now, is it true that some people eat carnivore and feel freaking amazing? Yes. But why is that? Well, it might be because you have a lot of gut problems. So yeah, when we remove everything irritating your gut other than meat, we don't have a problem. So to me, it's masking. I'm not telling people not to do it. If they like it, I will tell you without a doubt, people do not age well on carnivore. They just don't.
No,
I
no,
mean,
your gut needs fiber. Your microbiome can't survive on
no.
protein, on meat.
No. So if somebody's 35 or 40, and they look great doing their carnivore right now, amazing. I want to talk to them in 10 more years. Like, let's check in. And I'll say the same thing with any extreme. I'm not knocking, like, hey, one of my best friends who's a doctor, she's carnivore. She looks freaking amazing. I'm not telling her not to do it. Like, she's amazing. I want to see in 10 years what she's doing. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I'm very pro antioxidant food. I'm pro vegetables, phytonutrients. They are healing. So anything that's eliminating vegetables and fruits, I right away have an issue. Now, I'm not saying to go eat 5 watermelons at a time. It's like that's not what I'm saying. But to say I'm just going to completely eliminate all fruits and vegetables, I think that's a dangerous slippery slope for healing and for lasting fat loss, longevity, all that. Protein. I think protein is very important. Do I think every single woman needs their exact body weight in protein? No, I don't. So I'm probably going a little bit against the grain here, but I don't believe that. I think we're all, again, unique. Calories are different for everybody. What our bodies need are different. So I help women figure out with a clean slate what is ideal for them. Do I think women need to eat 6 to 8 meals a day or just 2 meals a day? That part is very unique also. It does not matter. It's unique to you. Some people thrive eating frequently. Some need a wider gap. Like I know with me, again, not the popular norm, my calories increase throughout the day. Other people are going to thrive better the other way, but I don't wake up very hungry. I kind of trickle in some food and then my biggest meal is around 4 o'clock. That's just what works for me. And my goal is to help women figure out what works for them. Same with fats. Again, this has gotten very extreme too. Like, I don't think it's healthy to eliminate all fats. And I also don't think it's healthy to just be eating a ton of fats. Like this whole, like, let's load everything up with tallow and coconut. Like, I have a problem with that too. That is not going to work for everyone. We all have very different DNA. We have different genetics. We have different everything where somebody might really thrive with a lot of saturated fat. Someone like me will not thrive with that. I will create a big issue. I will wreak havoc on my system with a lot of saturated fat. I personally have to stick to like avocado or olive oil. Like that's my fats. In a rare restaurant, I might have duck fat on my, whatever, that's fine if I go out and I'm eating, but that's not a staple in my diet. So when it comes to basics, I don't know if I answered your question because I don't have a black and white answer, but it is going back to basics, focusing on unprocessed natural foods. It's focusing on how do we add in so much of the good that we make less room for the not so amazing. How do we make sure we're hydrating? How do we make sure we're walking? And I tell women that come through my community and my program, my question back to them, because people love to argue with me and they love to go, but this, and I say with love and a smile, I will say, is what you've been told and what you're doing working for you? And if it is, you don't need to be in here. Keep at it. But no one ever says, yes, it is. They tell me it should be like so-and-so told me, great, but it's not working for you. So let me help you. Let's rewind, because I help women. I really help them, but I have to get them back to common sense and basics. Like, is it common sense that a carrot makes you fat? No. Is it common sense that a vegetable is trying to kill you? No. Is it common sense that we should be eating beef tallow all day long instead of olive oil? Like, it's a common sense thing. So again, if it's working for you, amazing. You could be that anomaly. It's working for you. But I can't stand rigid statements that everyone should be eating a specific way.
I love that. I do appreciate that. I agree with all the things you're saying as well. Yeah, I don't have a lot of patients that are doing just carnivore diets.
I just happen to pick on that one. But there's other things. I mean,
Yeah,
again,
for
some
sure.
people love vegan and they thrive on it. That's not for me. So I'm not saying someone couldn't. It's just not my understanding. It's not my belief. It's not. But I respect that everyone does what's right for them. I do. Like, I really respect that if you know your body and it's working, amazing. However, most women are not coming to me because what they're doing is working.
Right. No, I agree. Agreed. And I'm always so curious. A point that you made is how sustainable are a lot of these in the long run? Like you
Yeah.
said, come to me in 5 years, come to me in 10 years. Let me look at your labs. Like what are your labs saying?
I used to have this, and you remember this time too, when we used to think we had to eat every few hours, or we're going to eat our own muscle. We went through that phase.
Mhm.
We also went through a phase of if you fast or skip a meal, you're going to basically wreck your metabolism and die. That's also not true. So there's been a lot of things that kind of come and go.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, I don't think everybody needs as many calories as they think. I can tell you that I don't think everyone needs as much protein as they think. I could tell you everyone doesn't need to thrive on saturated fat. There's just a lot of stuff I see for marketing that doesn't mean it's for everybody.
No, I agree. Natalie Jill, honey, where can we get more of you? I love this nuance, and I love that you are willing to explore and willing to go deep and willing to ask the hard questions.
Thank you. So my podcast is Midlife Conversations, and I've had Mariza on several times. She's always an amazing guest. Midlife Conversations on social media. I'm Natalie Jill Fit. And you can find me on my website, nataliejill.com. And then my signature program is Total Body Thrive.
Thank you so much, love. It was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for watching. Now, if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. And if you are ready to learn more about perimenopause and how to navigate with a lot of ease and grace, be sure to subscribe to this channel so that you can join our community. Don't forget to share this video with someone that you love, that you know is navigating the perimenopause journey as well, because they deserve to feel their best too. See you in the next video.